Hey everyone, it's Hannah Clubley, student radio presenter and head of music for Nerve Radio at Bournemouth University. Today I'm here with the fabulous Freya Ridings to discuss her brand new comeback single Weekends, so stick around to hear all about that. But first of all, thank you so much for joining me today, Freya. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me, Hannah. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so good. I'm so buzzing to be releasing music again. I've missed it so much. I've just been euphoric. Probably the happiest person in January, like ever. I've just been skipping around my local park. Like I'm just after 3 years of like all the heartbreak and all the writing. God, yeah, it's been a journey.
Well, that's what we like to start off the year. Good kick off 2020.
Come back with a bang. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So for anyone who may be unfamiliar with you and your music, can you just sum up yourself and your style of music maybe in 3 words?
In 3 words. Oh,
quite a tough question, but I thought
like melancholic, euphoric, and acoustic. Oh, I want to say acoustic, maybe piano. I'll just say piano. Yeah.
That's interesting. So, as we know, your brand new single Weekends was released on the 12th of January. I absolutely love it. Super catchy.
That's really kind of you. Thank you. It's definitely one of the more pop sort of disco vibes, but I wanted to come back saying like, you know, the scariest lyrics that I could ever put out, and also like pushing myself out of my comfort zone with like, you know, the disco sort of pop fever dream element. So yeah, that's what we came back with.
Well, I think it was a brilliant comeback.
Thanks.
So it's your first release since 2019, which is a pretty big deal, isn't it, really?
Wild. Literally wild. I can't believe it's been that long.
How does it feel finally having music back out again?
It feels so surreal, but it's been like I've put so much of myself into this album and these songs that I really like I wasn't going to put out anything until I was like really happy with it. Yeah. And there was a couple of times where I was like, maybe it's this moment, maybe it's now, but I'm really glad that I waited until I'm like, there's 14 songs on the album. They are like the last 3 years of my life condensed into a record, and it's like I'm so proud of this music and I can't wait to share it with everyone. It's just been such a personal journey of growth as well. These songs have helped me so much. I'm just excited to share them with people.
Yeah, that's super exciting. I can imagine it was like really nerve-wracking, as obviously you said, it's been such a long time, but
yeah, terrifying.
Yeah, how have people's reactions been? I know it's only been a few weeks, but
it's been incredible. Like I thought it was going to be much more of a slow burn, like we've been away for so long, but actually like the response has been so incredible. Like radio especially, like just opened it, like welcomed it back in with open arms, and I'm just like hearing it on the radio, especially in cabs again, it just kind of takes me back to hearing like Lost Without You on the radio for the first time. It just felt like out of this world, like a song that you can, you know, have written, especially like Weekends. It was just a voice memo on my phone that I just whispered from my subconscious when I was very going through one of the worst breakups of my life.
Yeah.
And now it's like on the radio. It's just a crazy world to be able to come back and do this. This job is an absolute privilege, and I'm so happy to be back.
Yeah, I can imagine. I guess people have obviously been awaiting your return and so ready to hear your new stuff.
I know, I've been so ready for so long, but I think it is good that we've waited for this, like, to be completely ready, because I think before you get one chance to come back, and I just wanted to make it the strongest that I could.
Yeah. That's really good. I'd love to know more about the song. So do you want to talk about a little bit, what it's about and what it means to you?
So yeah, Weekend was one of the first songs that I wrote for the album, and it was never meant to be on the album, actually. Like it kind of came from a very deep subconscious place where I was, you know, going through one of the worst breakups of my life, internally dying, but on the outside playing shows to thousands of people every night. And I think it was one of the best times of my life, like career-wise. I was having the best time. But when that person is like your person, you know, you can't pick up the phone and call them when you get home, and all the noise just stops. And then suddenly we were like in the pandemic, and I was like, whoa, now there's really nowhere to hide. But this song was written kind of just before that, in the sort of whirlwind of it. And I remember just like, it just came from a really deep subconscious place, and I didn't write it with any instrument. I just sort of sang it like into the ether as a voice memo, and it sat on my phone for ages. And I was like, I can never show anyone that. That's just so embarrassing. I was like, I'm not going to admit that. That's just like, it's just weird. But I think the longer I sat with it, the more I needed to put it out into the world. I was like, I really want to be brave. And my goal for this album was to say the things that I thought I physically couldn't say again and again and again, and just try and grow from it and learn from it. And I was doing a session with Steve Mack, who is one of my favorite producers of all time. Like he was at the top of a list of people that I wanted to work with. So when I got to do a session with him, I was like in awe, also a bit scared. And he like turned to me And he's like, what have you said to yourself recently that has just scared you? Like, you've scared yourself. And I was like, I didn't want to show him because I was like, this is embarrassing. So you might kind of be like, oh my God, you got no mates, lol. But I was like, here you go, look at this. And he's like, that is so sad, Freya. I'm like, yeah. It's like, maybe we could turn it into something like euphoric. Like, you know, you've been saying you want to do like a kind of 70s thing for this album. And I hadn't really, because it was towards the beginning of the album process, I hadn't really formulated the exact sound. So it's a bit different from the rest of the album, this song, actually, kind of almost intentionally, because the rest of the songs aren't really disco at all. But I just love the idea of the lyrics being so sad and the music being so upbeat that it would kind of just like balance it out a little bit. And it feels euphoric to hear those two things combined now when I hear it on the radio. Or like, yeah, it's been a real journey, and I never thought that anyone would hear it. So I'm really glad that they have.
Yeah, I bet it's really nice for you to be able to express yourself in that way and kind of get it out to other people so other people can relate to it.
Yeah, because there were safer things I could have said. There were loads of songs I wrote that felt incredibly safe and like felt like I'd done this before. And then there was like weekends sat on my phone being like, put me, like, I'm like, I can't pick you, you're too intimidating. And then I've done it and I'm like, oh, what have I done? Like sometimes it just like hits you at different moments where you're like, I can't take it back now, I said it. But hopefully like the bravery, like I tried to be brave, and hopefully it ripples, and it helped me a lot to overcome that. So hopefully like, the messages, the DMs I'm getting are like, they're so like heart-wrenching, and it's just, I just want to give people a hug because I remember how it feels to be there. Like I feel like I'm still like there with them. So yeah, it's an honor to get to do this job and be there for them.
Yeah. So you touched a little bit on kind of the creative process there. It started as a voice memo, which is really interesting to know. Is there any particular artist you took inspiration for, or maybe certain sounds you wanted to achieve, or did it quite literally just kind of come about?
I mean, I'm really bad at listening to new music. It's actually one of my goals for this year. I need to listen to more new music, because basically I just became obsessed with the 70s. Like over lockdown and stuff, I would just listen to like, you know, like the best of the 70s playlist. Like I'm not really like that, you know, some people like have a record collection. I'm like just on Spotify, just like listening to these songs that I was like, it's just the warmth and the rawness of the fact that people didn't have like autotune, they didn't have these things, so their voices are just like filled with these like stunning just emotions, and the real instruments. I wanted, like, if the last album was quite gothic, I kind of wanted this one to be like more euphoric, and I had this image of like instruments that you could bring to an orchard or like around a blood orange tree, and that you could like play, you know, like, so acoustic guitars like unplugged and like hand claps and brass and like real like lots of harmonies and a piano if you wanted to drag it out there as well, but just a lot of like that kind of real feeling is what I wanted, like, but in a kind of fresh pop modern way. But I wanted the 70s to really like inspire it, and a lot of like producers don't like brass and they don't like things from the 70s. It wasn't very cool, but I found a couple of people who really managed to go with me on this journey, and I'm really glad that they did, because I love what we made.
Oh, that's awesome. So as a previous member of the student radio class yourself, I believe back in 2019, I know everyone here at Student Music Network has been so excited for your comeback, and we're all so massively behind you. But
so lovely, thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah,
it's really cool, honestly. So much support from us. But it doesn't just stop with this single. As you touched on there, you've got a brand new album coming titled Blood Orange
It's coming out on the 5th of May.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been this excited to put out music in my entire life. Genuinely, like, this album is, I put like everything I had, like, and so many times, like, it was just so far out of my comfort zone that I was like, I don't think I can do this. But looking back, I'm like, I'm so proud of the fact that just so much, you know, so much therapy was done, so much internal growth, like so much, you know, pushing myself out of my comfort zone musically, and like just trying to work with people who I'd never worked with before, who were just incredible. And a lot of female writers. On the first album, I didn't get the chance to work with any female writers. It wasn't given to me as an opportunity. Yeah. So I wrote a lot on my own. But this time I got to work with incredible female writers like Camille, who's written like all of like the Little Mix songs. And she's written so many incredible songs, I can't even name them all. And then like Amy Wadge as well, who wrote like, Thinking Out Loud with Ed Sheeran. She's just a force to be reckoned with. And then some girls in LA as well. They're just beautiful. And it really helped open me up as a female writer. Because I think before I was quite traumatized by like writing with men. I wasn't enjoying it anymore, and it felt quite like, I don't know, like weirdly triggering. So writing with women suddenly felt like this whole new world of like loving writing again, and they were so like encouraging of my like weird ideas. You know, I said like I want to write a song called or an album called Blood Orange, and this is the meaning, and they were like, you know, most of the sort of the older men that I was working with before were like, no, and these young women were like, yeah, we're gonna do it, and I was like, okay, yeah, and we just like hyped each other up so much. So hopefully that you can feel that on this album as well. There's a lot of like the female empowerment in the album is very visceral to me because they empowered me while making it. Yeah,
I bet it's really nice to have such kind of an inspiring team around you and to all be that passionate about it.
I didn't have that on the first time. I really didn't. I struggled to find like people that I actually enjoyed making music with quite hard, because you get put in with a lot of like the kind of older male producers who are fantastic. They are, but a lot of them are quite set in their sort of their ways, and they don't really give you a lot of control over the sound of your own music, even if you write it. So for me, I was determined to find people that would like champion me and I could champion them to really make something that wasn't like cool, something that was a bit like different and fun. And like, you know, like if we wanted to put, there's a bit of a song where I was like, what if like in the live show everything just stopped and we just all did like a big like wah, and like with the brass just like did this big whoa, right? And the producers that I was working with were actually like, yeah, let's put that in the song. And I was like, no, we couldn't possibly, you know, like people that just big you up. And I'd had, you know, especially when you're starting out as a female writer, you get a lot of like people like, no, you can't do that. And that just felt like I was allowed for some reason to actually, I guess the first album opened doors to people that actually really championed me. And I'm very, very grateful for that.
Oh, that's awesome. It's really nice hearing about that, and like how even though you didn't have that in the first place, now you've kind of found yourself and found your team and your style a bit more. It's really interesting to hear about.
Yeah, the first album, like making it was very hard. And I was very, very proud of the songs, but I think the sound of it, I didn't quite get to be what I wanted it to be. But this album is, I'm so proud of the sound of it, and I love it. I loved making it, and hopefully people can hear that in the music instead of the opposite. Is
there anything, obviously you touched on it a bit there, but what can we expect from this album as a whole?
Okay, well, I'll tell you. So basically it got like emotionally, there's sort of two halves to this album. There's the half where I was very, very heartbroken and alone and sort of bitter and angry and fiery, and then there's like falling in love again and allowing myself to be loved, and the fear that you have to overcome to jump and to actually make that leap of faith, and then the happiness that you can feel and the joy. And I was almost like ashamed to admit that I was actually, you know, in love at one point. So it's just lots of the things that I was scared to say in a row. And I think musically as well, there is a lot more like energy. I wanted a lot more like color and energy, and just like human voices as well, like human instruments and real people playing real instruments was very important to me. So yeah, there's a lot of real people on this album, and I'm excited for people to hear their performances because they smashed it out of the park. I'm so impressed. A lot of people that I didn't think would have a shot, like I got them on this album, you know, people that I thought were really talented but they hadn't quite done it yet. I was like, come and join me on this album, and they helped me. They really did.
That's awesome. I'm super excited to hear it. I mean, I was already excited, but after hearing all of this now,
I hope you like it.
I think it, given the reaction of Weekends and everything, I think it's going to be really good.
It's so funny because like I love Weekends, I'm very proud of it, but this album as a whole is like, it's something that is just, I'm really proud of it. I'm like, this is Weekends to me is like, it's the first chapter of like the whole book of Blood Orange, and there's such a journey on it, like musically and like as a person. I think, you know, going from like your early 20s to like your mid and late 20s is like, these are some of the biggest learning curves that I've ever been through in my life. You know, like having to look inwards and be like taking responsibility for the fact that you are the common denominator between a lot of these things. And it's like, yeah, I really pushed myself out of my comfort zone multiple, if not like 14 times to get these songs, and I'm so proud of them. I really am.
That's really inspiring to hear as well. That's really cool.
Thanks.
So do you have anything else planned for 2023 that you can share with us?
There's so much cool stuff going on. I can't, like, there's just been 3 years of like silence, basically, me just being in the studio, just being like, I want to like make this the best album I can. And now it's like the phone's ringing every day with just like these insane things that I could have never dreamed of. And I'm like, let's do them all. I can't say yet, but it's like, I've kind of gone back to that mentality of just saying yes to everything. It's like, I've been away. I know what it's like not to do this job now, and I've missed it so much. It is just the best. And I love it. So hopefully touring at the end of the year, like festivals in the summer, just lots of like, you know, playing. I want to play live more. So hopefully we'll book in some shows, maybe even like an album release show, like around May. So yeah, lots of festivals. It'll be fun.
Stay tuned, everyone. That's what I'm hearing. Lots of things coming.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So obviously you took a bit of a 3-year hiatus. What did you get up to in that period of time?
It's kind of wild because I was having my in-ears done the other day where this lady injects foam into your ears, and I haven't seen her for 5 years because she's a lovely woman called Giselle. She does everyone's in-ears, like she's every singer. And she lives down the road from me, and she's like, what have you done over the last like 3 or 5 years? I was like, quite a lot. Like I thought I hadn't, but I guess like, moving out, like I got my own place, like learned how to drive, like, finally in a happy relationship, like we got engaged, we got married, like finishing an album that I'm actually proud of. Like it's been a real, like it's been in like off grid, but there's been so much work done on this farm. I'm just like constantly working. So to actually be able to show people like the produce of what we've actually created, it's just a euphoric feeling, and it feels like a lot's happened, but also like nothing's happened because it's been a while since I've said hi to everyone, and now I'm walking around Sainsbury's and people are like, oh my god, we had Weekend. I'm like, oh my god, thank you. Like, that hasn't happened in a long time, so it's really special.
That's cool. So just to round things up, obviously you've achieved some pretty amazing things over the course of your career.
Thank you.
From songs charting, obviously performing on so many TV shows and events. But this is going to be a super hard question. If you had to pick one standout moment from your career so far, what would it be?
Oh my god, that's so tough. I think it was probably Lost Without You going into the top 10, because I remember literally someone from my label messaged me the number 9, and I thought that meant we'd sold 9 copies, and I was like, that's not very good.
Oh no.
And then he's like, no, it's 9. I was like, in what does 9 mean? He's like, in the chart. Like, that's not physically possible. We're an indie label. Like, I wrote this song on my own at my parents' piano. This doesn't happen. They told me that you had to write songs with men double your age and you wouldn't really get them to sound like you. Like, there were so many ways that moment changed my life, and the ripples just keep on going. And I always promised myself, if I was ever lucky enough to like have a hit or like write a hit, I would be so grateful to play it until the end of time, until people don't want me to play it anymore, And Lost Without You, it changed my life. So I'd say like that moment on Love Island, and then it being in the top 10, that was probably the moment that changed everything for me.
Yeah, that's really nice. So unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. But
you've been great, Hannah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're a natural. Thanks.
Thank you. It's been so nice chatting to you, and I am so excited for everything that's coming for you this year. I will definitely be staying tuned with everything. And
thank you.
Thank you so much. For everyone that's been listening, please check out Freya's brand new single and stay tuned for the album dropping in May.
Oh, you're wonderful. Thank you so much, Hannah.
Thank you.